Good afternoon. My name is Kori Prins, and this is my individual video project on understanding social engineering. This video is for my cyber operations class under Professor Alex Hepp. First, a disclaimer. This video and its contents are for educational purposes only. I am not responsible for nor liable for any damages that could be caused using this information or these demonstrations. So what is social engineering? It is the act of using psychological manipulation to trick people into revealing confidential information or performing some action that compromises the security of a system, such as opening an attachment that contains an exploit. Social engineering exploits human trust and psychology instead of technical vulnerabilities, and it is often the weakest link in any cybersecurity defense. Most people try to be good and believe others to be good as well. Social engineering works because of this. Specifically, it relies on people's willingness to help and assume others are honest. People also have a tendency to trust and act on requests from people in authority without fully thinking about it, especially if there is urgency behind the request. It also exploits the tendency of people to try to avoid confrontation and embarrassment. And lastly, security training around social engineering attacks is often minimal or inconsistent. Often, training stops at how to spot phishing attempts, but social engineering is much more than just phishing. A successful social engineer generally has a good understanding of human nature and how to interact with a target to get them to act without questioning it too much. They will often appeal to a target's good tendencies, such as trusting others, have good intentions, wanting to be helpful, or building camaraderie with the target by expressing interest in them, being a sympathetic ear, or pretending to have the same interests, hobbies, etc., to trigger a positive sympathetic response in the target and be more willing to comply with the request. They also understand that people have a tendency to act without verifying the requester's identity or intentions, relying on assumptions instead, especially when there is a sense of camaraderie or urgency built. As mentioned before, social engineers try to take advantage of a target's assumptions and politeness. They will also sometimes get aggressive if the attack is failing in an attempt to trigger the target's compliance. Most people try to avoid confrontation or embarrassment though the effectiveness of this can vary greatly based on the target's culture. Some cultures place a greater emphasis on avoiding confrontation and embarrassment than others. In The Art of Deception by Kevin Mitnick, he outlines 6 key human tendencies that social engineering exploits. The first is authority. People tend to comply with requests from authority figures, such as law enforcement or C-level management. The second is likability. Some newer models have separated likability into 2 categories, likability and unity. Likability is the tendency of people to comply with requests from people that are likable or charismatic. Unity is based on the tendency of people to find a person that has similarities with them more likable and trustworthy. The third tendency is reciprocation. People tend to comply with requests when they will receive or have received something such as a gift, advice, help, etc. The fourth tendency is consistency. People tend to comply with requests that align with promises made, such as a public commitment or an endorsement of a cause. Number 5 is social validation. Social validation is the tendency to comply with requests that match what others are doing or can be seen as being a responsible citizen. Lastly is scarcity. Scarcity is the tendency of people to comply with requests when they feel they might lose out on something, such as when you see advertisements say, act now, supplies are running out. So, how do we protect ourselves from falling for social engineering attacks? The first is to enforce strong security policies, such as policies around what information is allowed to be given out, identity verification for any request for information, flagging or marking external emails as external, etc. Regular employee training is also critical in defending against social engineering and should include information beyond just how to spot a phishing email. Lastly, using multi-factor authentication for identity verification, such as needing to supply your username, employee number, and a security question answer to verify your identity with the support desk can help protect against social engineering. For my demonstration, I'm going to show some common tactics used in social engineering and demonstrate a tool called the Social Engineering Toolkit, or SE Toolkit, in Kali. The attack methods I'm going to use will be spear phishing, impersonation, get help, and typo squatting / homoglyph methods. Phishing, as most people probably already know, is the use of deceptive emails or messages to attempt to extract information or install malware. Spear phishing is a type of phishing attack that targets a specific person or group and is generally more specific and tailored to that person rather than a broad and generic attack like most general phishing attacks. Pretexting is creating a believable scenario or backstory for the social engineering attempt, such as a fake job interview or you just got back from a vacation and forgot your password and need it reset. In order to build trust with the target and obscure the attacker's identity, phishing often uses spoofed sender addresses or fake identities, which leads me to the next slide. Impersonation. Impersonation is the act of pretending to be someone you are not. It is generally used by an attacker to pretend to be someone in authority or a trusted entity, such as law enforcement or a company executive. But it is not limited to that. It can also be someone in desperate need or someone from IT, etc. Impersonation relies on the attacker being believable as their persona, using tone of voice, position relevant terms and jargon, and confidence to convey that they are who they say they are. Get help is a social engineering method where the attacker seeks assistance from the target because of some urgent situation. It uses the target's desire to help, commitment to promises, as mentioned earlier, with the consistency tendency, and or urgency of need to get the target to act without questioning the request too much. Typo squatting is where an attacker registers a domain name with a common misspelling or variation, such as spelling Google with 3 O's or spelling Googel. A homoglyph attack is where an attacker will register a domain name with characters that look like their ASCII counterparts. It often uses internationalized domain names, or IDNs, which uses Unicode instead of the original ASCII-only character set that domain names used to use. That opens up possibilities for registering lookalike domain names for common sites. However, there are protections that have been put in place in recent years to help protect against homoglyph attacks. Both methods try to take advantage of a target's lack of attention to detail or lack of technical knowledge. In my demonstration, the scenario I set up is that I am trying to get access to MetroState University systems. I'm going to try to spearfish someone from MetroState to try to harvest their credentials. I will be impersonating So-Mei Gi, a former MetroState student. And the pretext I will be using for backstory is the target to is that I am applying for cybersecurity jobs and would like the target to review my LinkedIn profile. The next steps will be to identify a target, set up a fake LinkedIn page using typo squatting or a homoglyph address, and then finish by sending my spear phishing email to the target. The ideal target would be someone who has access to several MetroState systems, is likely to be open to helping a former student, probably has received several requests to provide resume or LinkedIn advice in the past, and has a LinkedIn profile themselves. After some research and digging through open source intelligence sources, I seem to have found the perfect target. Meet our target, Alex Hepp. During reconnaissance, I found that MetroState makes its staff directory available online. Looking through it, I was able to find our target's MetroState profile. I can see that Hepp is a MetroState alumnus, increasing my probability of exploiting Unity as a fellow alumnus myself. I also see that he is a professor of some cybersecurity courses at the school, which means he may be more susceptible to helping a former cybersecurity student in need. It also has his MetroState email address on the site, which I will need later. I can also see that he has a LinkedIn profile, and from his activity that he engages with students after graduation, further increasing the likelihood of my target being susceptible to get help. For the fake LinkedIn page, I'm going to use a homoglyph attack. There are several sites out there like this one that show ASCII lookalike characters, and after doing some copy pasta magic and domain searches, I was able to register a domain that looks very similar to linkedin.com. I will use this in my email later. To set up the fake page, we are going to use Social Engineering Toolkit. SE Toolkit is a program that can assist you with launching social engineering attacks, both broad or targeted, and is a native application that comes with Kali installation. It works with your existing Metasploit installation to create and send MSF payloads, such as PDFs and with embedded EXEs, corrupted RARs, and many others, and connect it back to a Meterpreter shell or general reverse shell. Unpick it off here. One thing to note is that SE Toolkit does require root access. So we'll kick it off with sudo. Give it a moment to load up. Oh, I just realized I'm not sharing it. 1 second. Here we go. Much better. And so under social engineering attacks, we can see several options for assisting with social engineering, a social engineering attack. It has mass mailer capabilities, QR code generation, PowerShell attacks, wireless attacks, etc. One thing I've noticed, though, after exploring the application, is that many of the payload attacks used by SE Toolkit attempt to exploit some really old vulnerabilities. So I find that they are of limited use. But most of the website attack methods are still useful. In fact, we will be using one of them for the demonstration. Specifically, we will be using credential harvesting. This method will allow us to use either a prepackaged web template that comes with SE Toolkit, import custom HTML, or clone an existing website, which is what we'll be doing today. Specific to set up the harvester, we would enter the listening IP, enter in the listening IP address. This would be the IP address that our fake LinkedIn page would be attached to. In this case, we're just going to use our local address. And then we would enter in the URL to clone. Our goal is to try to get our target to click on the link, the fake LinkedIn page. So we will be using the LinkedIn login page for our site to clone. Now, our harvester is set up and listening. And the last step is to send our email to our target and wait to see if he takes the bait. To send my email, we'll be using a tool called SOCKS. This allows us to send an email with a custom HTML body, as well as allowing us to control the from address for spoofing, email headers, and other settings. A custom HTML body allows us to create a clickable link to the fake website in the email while also hiding the URL the link is actually pointing to behind a different legitimate looking link. For instance, note that the URL the target will see is this legitimate LinkedIn link, but when a person clicks on it, they will actually be going to this address, which directs them to our fake domain that we created earlier. It also, as mentioned, allows us to adjust the from address for spoofing, any email headers for defeating security, etc. And just, yeah, allows us to a lot of customization and being able to tailor our email. Last step is to send off the email and wait. So obviously we can't see what Alex will see, but this is a sample of what Alex would receive. This link obviously won't point to a valid URL because this is just a demonstration. But something to point out is that most newer browsers will resolve IDN addresses into Punycode addresses to help protect against homoglyph attacks. So in phishing training, it would be useful to point out to make sure to pay attention to the address that is actually in the browser. And this concludes my video on understanding social engineering. Thanks for watching.